Hi there. You know what you need to know to do this week's assignment. So you've been spending 2 weeks on primitives, moving them, rotating them, cutting, etc. I'm gonna let you use some creativity this week and use those skills to make something of your own. You'll have some requirements like using a semi-sphere. So even though you already know that, I'm gonna take you through a few cases of cutting things apart. So I'm going to create a sphere and I'm going to make it 60. And the best tool to cut this with, to cut half of it off, would be a box. I'm going to go to box and I'm going to draw this one on the wall. And I'm going to go ahead and make it 80 by 80 because then that gives me plenty of room to make sure it's bigger than my sphere. So 80 by 80 by 80, click OK. So I have my two shapes that I will rename just so you can keep track of stuff as you're watching. So I want to move my box. My box is already highlighted, so I'm going to right click, move copy. I'm going to switch to the top, collapse this thing. And then I purposely drew my sphere on the origin so it would be easy to line my box up with that axis. So I know it's overlapping half of the sphere from this plane, but let's tip it to the front and you can see that now I have to move it down. And so it looks completely covered on two spheres. If I spin it this way, you can see it's also covered in those directions. So I'm going to click home, and then I'm actually going to click this button so you can see. So the box is well positioned to cut off half the sphere. I will click OK to set it. And then we can go to the Combine menu under Modify. And then we have to expand that. And we're going to be cutting. Target body is what I want to keep, which is the sphere. Tool body is what I want to cut, which is the box, and it turns red. And by now you should be really familiar with red indicating a cut. And when I click OK, I am left with my sphere, semi-sphere. Yay! It is quite likely when you when you have the shape you cut to get that you're going to need to rotate it. Now remember, you can't just right click now because there's a flat face. So select it over here, right click, move copy, and now if I want to, I can use these rotate things. So I can rotate this down 90 degrees if I want to, or maybe I want it to be flat on the ground. So I can do it negative 90 degrees. And then maybe I'll pull it up. So, and obviously you can flip it in any manner you want. But there's a semi-sphere. Let's think of some cool ways I'm actually going to move this out of the way. So let me right click and move it and just slide it off here. Okay, so maybe there's a couple ways you could what am I doing? I am drawing a cylinder. There's a couple ways you could cut a cylinder. So I'm going to actually make a skinny cylinder, which is 130. And then suppose I want to cut it lengthwise. I would use a cube again. So I'm going to go to create. Actually, it won't be a cube, it will be a box. I'm going to create it on the floor. I totally forget. I wasn't paying attention. I have no idea what my diameter is, but I'm pretty sure that's bigger. I did notice my height was 130, so I'm going to make that big as well. And again, if I want to keep track of stuff, I can say cylinder. And here I can say box. And then if I want to click over here, I can. If I move copy, go to the top, I always start on the top. Go half this way. Now I'm going to flip to this end, zoom out a little bit. It looks like it's completely, like I'm pretty sure they both are on the floor, but I'm going to pull this down just in case. Whoops. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. And then let me look at it from this direction, and you can see that it covers that cylinder well, and I can click OK, go back to the combine menu. I want to keep the cylinder, I want to cut the box, and I can click OK. And so now I have half a log. And actually, so again, if you want to rotate it or whatever, you got to click it here, right click, move copy. I'm going to rotate it this way, 90. Oops, I'm having trouble getting there. So I'm just going to type in 90. I meant to move it, but so I can take cylinder, right click, move. I'm going to push that over here too, and in that direction a little bit. Another thing you can do with a cylinder, so let's create cylinder. I'm going to draw this one on the floor too. I'm going to make this one have a bigger base, 160 for a base, and I'm just going to give it a 30 millimeter height. So there's that one. And I'm going to draw a box again. Boxes are excellent cutters if you haven't noticed. I guess I got to make this pretty big. And I'm going to make, I don't remember how big my cylinder was, but I know that's bigger. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to move this semi-sphere out of the way. Okay. So now I'm going to select my box, which I haven't named yet. So this is, I'll call this a disc instead of a cylinder. And this is the, well, I'm going to be cutting that, so I'm not going to name it, but I am going to select it because you got to select it to move it. Move it. Now look what I can do. And I probably made a mistake by drawing this in a random area. If I had drawn it at the origin, it would have been an easier job. But let me minimize this so I can just see my tools. So if you wanted to, you could obviously make a semi disc, like half a disc, but you could also go to a quarter or 1/4. Actually, okay, so actually 3/4. So that looks like it's covering it properly. I could push it down, but I'm going to have faith that they're both on the ground. So now when I go to combine, and let's expand that, make sure it's uncut. We're going to keep that, we're going to cut that, and I'm going to hit return. And you can see I got a little Pac-Man, waka, waka, waka. Maybe you only want a quarter of a disc, in which case you can draw another box. So you're going to be really good at drawing boxes. I clicked the wrong thing. Box, floor, bigger than we need it. Select it, move it, go to the top. I'm going to rotate it this way or orbit it this way. Now I can move it like this. Now let me check. Okay, it's lined up good there. I'm going to click OK. Switch back to the home view. Tilt it a little bit more. Go to modify combine again. We're still in cut. We want to keep that. We want to cut this. I click OK. And now I have that much of a cylinder. And you could do the same thing with a torus. So you can get fractions of all of those shapes by cutting it with a box. You can also cut into a box. So let me show you this. If we needed a, like a, I forget what they're called for horses, something horses drink out of, you could make a box like this. Let's see, that's got 50 for length. So now, why don't I just use this one? I'm going to take this cylinder and move it. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to draw a separate cylinder. So I'm going to create another cylinder, and I'm going to draw it on this wall. So let's see. I do not want it bigger. Oops, I think I wanted that 30. And I do not want it longer either. So let me take the height. I actually want to look at it from this side. And I can't really tell. So let me do that. That's a horrible angle. And I need it zoomed in for sure. So now I'm going to move this. I actually want to just move it to see how it lines up. Where are my, oh, I don't think I went to move yet. Okay. Now I can zoom in more and drag it down. Okay, I'm gonna pull it out. Whoops, I'm still in move mode. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. And if I go to the top, you can see it was way malaligned. Let's see what happens when I go this way. So now I should zoom in so you can see this better. I have the cylinder sitting inside of the box. I probably want to tweak it a little that way. Tweak it a little this way. Okay, I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to return to my home and zoom in just on this. So now, if I go to modify and combine, and I want to keep this, and I want to cut this. So now I've made that. So you should think of ways in which you can cut into stuff from one to the other. I'm going to have some prescribed shapes that you have to use, but these are just fun examples of how to cut stuff. A lot of times you'll be cutting with the cube, but you don't necessarily have to cut with the cube. Like for instance, yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Think about what you want to do. Refer to this just to have more reminders. Thanks for watching.